This is Public Policy, and I'm your professor, Dr. Patrick Stewart. The purpose of this course is to introduce students to the lens and theories through which public policy making process is viewed. This approach will provide for a more strategic manner of analysis to allow for better understanding of what may and may not be accomplished given resources, opportunities, and policy players. This course is designed to address theories in a two-part process and will involve student presentation, discussion, and application of theoretical frameworks used to understand public policy. The first part of this course will provide the scientific basis for and historical overview of public policy theorizing. The second part of the course will consider approaches to understanding public policy that are currently being used and will involve presentation of theoretical frameworks and articles testing their assumptions by the individual students. Policy analysis can be qualitative and quantitative. While both can be rigorous, qualitative approaches are more accessible to the general public because they tell stories that people can understand more readily. On the other hand, the quantitative approach may be seen as more trusted by the general public because it is abstract and reinforces expertise. Regardless of the theory one chooses and its basic assumptions, the argumentative turn of the theory structures how reality is viewed. In other words, the initial choices set up path dependencies. These path dependencies are analytic and measurement choices that in turn influence perceptions of success and failure. While students will take low-stakes quizzes that evaluate mastery of course material throughout the semester, what matters most for graduate students in their careers is the ability to communicate their knowledge effectively. When talking with higher-level executives that obtain their graduate degrees, without fail, they tell me the skills rated as most important for their career success involves writing and presentation skill sets. Writing involves both long-form analytic reports and more short-form business interactions such as memos, email, texting, and so forth. The presentation skills tend to be seen as those long-form set pieces in which PowerPoints and other visual presentation tools are provided to audiences for extended periods of time, ranging from 5 minutes to an hour, as well as the more interpersonal short-form elevator speeches that last from 1 to 3 minutes when individuals are talking with one another. For this class, we will rely upon group analysis memos and discussion board posts to develop writing competencies. With the discussion boards, students are expected to submit short essays and responses and comments in their conversational form in an open and professional style throughout the course of the semester. In responses to the form, students should scrutinize and raise questions about the material covered in the previous week. During the first 5 weeks, students will be responsible for posting at least one substantial comment of at least 250 words in length. Students are then expected to make 2 responses of more than 75 words in length that respond substantively to the initial post by expanding upon or contending with the theme. During the second part of the semester, on the weeks when theoretical frameworks are being presented by fellow students, students will be responsible for posting 3 substantive comments in their team threads. It is expected that these posts will help develop themes and insights for that section's memo. For the longer form analytic reports, policy team memorandum will be relied upon. Not only is writing long-form reports a key part of the modern workworld, working remotely in a team is increasingly becoming the means by which work will be accomplished. As a result, students are expected to work in teams, writing a memo concerning the frameworks discussed in that unit that applies the knowledge gained to their policy content area. The memoranda should range from 5 to 7 pages in length, in other words, 2,500 to 3,500 words, and be organized using titles and subtitles. Policy team memoranda are expected to have an introductory statement of 1 to 3 paragraphs presenting the policy question, a brief summary of the key points of the framework or frameworks being used in terms of concepts and measures Using both the theory chapters and the articles presented as a reference should be the next section. This should be from 3 to 7 paragraphs. Next, the policy team should apply the theoretical framework using information from the chapter or chapters and the article or articles presented by their fellow students. This should likewise be from 3 to 7 paragraphs long. Finally, the policy team memo should make conclusions based upon their assessment of the strength of the theoretical framework or frameworks and the application to the real-world problem the memorandum team is analyzing, as well as dealing with any lingering questions the team might have. This should be from 1 to 3 paragraphs long. The major means of evaluating presentation skills in the class comes from the theoretical framework presentation. Students are expected to choose an article or book chapter from the previous 5 years corresponding with the theory being presented from the Sabatier and Weibel text and present it to the class in a video format. Students are expected to be in contact with the professor in choosing the theoretical material and supporting article, as well as developing the video presentation. The video will be preferably constructed as a 15 to 20 minute long 3-part video playlist that, first, provides the historical roots of the theoretical framework, second, presents the core aspects of the theoretical framework, and lastly, presents the article that uses the framework to analyze the policy area. Students are expected to provide the class with access to the article at least 1 week prior to their presentation by emailing the professor with a PDF copy of the article that will then be uploaded onto the Blackboard website. The first component involves the student outlining of materials to be presented in the form of either a PowerPoint shell or a storyboard/graphic organizer. This component should establish a general understanding of how the student wants to present the materials. The second component, which is worth 10 points, involves a student providing the presentation script. This component should involve going over the final presentation and fine-tuning the presentation before recording. The third component, worth 15 points, involves the student providing the finished video product to the professor in the form of a video presentation to be uploaded to Blackboard. The video production should be provided to the professor the week of the presentation, preferably in the 2 days prior to the presentation itself. The fourth and final component, worth 10 points, involves the student leading the discussion board content for that week. This will involve creating and leading discussion board threads for each of the policy content areas.